Road podcast, telling the stories of the South Texas racers from the past and present.
Hello, my name is James Parks, and welcome to our Thunder Road Podcast Christmas special. We're in a different setting today at the Petronio Posse Race Car Shop with longtime racer Larry Witzsche. Listen closely to hear Larry's stories of his drag racing and circle track racing, but most importantly, his stories of his family and his friends.
All right, so we are here with Larry Witzsche, also known as Mr. Goodyear.
Yeah,
and his grandson, his grandson Dustin Witzsche. And honestly, we're just gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk about you, your racing career, your racing lifestyle, and your family being involved, as well as bringing in some of the younger family members, the children, the grandchildren, and that aspect. So, with that being said, welcome to the show, both of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about how you got started. I understand that you became friends with a big racing family in the Coastal Bend area. Tell us a little bit about that deal.
Well, I started going to the track. Well, me and Mike Carlucci, we would sneak in, even though it didn't cost nothing.
Yeah.
We would sneak in around the back of the track.
That just made it more interesting.
Yeah, like we were really doing something.
Mission Impossible stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. And then Freddie Barnick was out there. My father-in-law was racing out there. Dub Rollins, Shorty Rollins, Johnny Rollins. So that was back in the middle 50s, I guess. And I was out there the night that the flagman got run over.
Bob Johnson.
And
Bob Johnson owned a record service here in the Coastal Bend area for many, many years.
Yes.
Where I used to work. I got the pleasure to meet him and hear some of his stories, but you were actually there the night that it happened.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, he always started the cars on the side of the track, on the inside, right next to the grass. And my father-in-law begged him not to do that down there because he said, one of these days you're going to get run over. And sure enough, he started the race. He threw the green flag, the best I can remember, and then they all got wadded up in the middle. So he run towards the center of the infield, and he only made it about 20, 30 feet, and Doug comes sliding through there. Nobody's fault.
Just happened.
Yeah, and he got run over. And there was a doctor out there, I think he drove one of the cars, and he's the one that tied, if I got the story right from my father-in-law, he tied the tourniquet on Bob's arm.
Sutured him up to get him.
No, he didn't suture him up. He just put a belt tourniquet on it.
I got you.
So, and that's how I got to go into CC Speedway.
So tell us a little bit about the Speedway then versus what it is now. I know the CC Speedway is basically set up at the pits on one side and that, but
right.
I know at one time it was completely different.
My original CC Speedway is they had bleachers down between the front straightaway wall and the stands, and they were like little press boxes.
I got you.
And that's where my wife and her sister and mom would watch the races right there. Then there were hooligans running around trying to steal popcorn or whatever, but
I was told many, many years ago that women weren't even allowed in the pits for a period of time. I don't exactly know if that applied at CC Speedway back then or not, but I do know that it did happen.
Yeah. Eventually, I mean, we drove against a girl in the pits there that when she raced out there too, the same time your daddy raced.
Yeah.
Irene Wilkie.
Yep.
I heard back in the day that you'd go to watch the fights and a race would break out at Speedway.
Yeah, if you could put the racetrack on a scale, if the crowd was running towards the pit, the stands would go like that. Huh? Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, my father-in-law was in Rhino.
Oh, man, so let's talk about your father-in-law. What is his name? And tell us a little bit about him.
His name is Fred Brown, F.B. Brown. And he won a lot of dirt races in Kingsville. And then he got
dirt track in the Kingsville.
There was a dirt track in Kingsville. And I think CC Speedway was a dirt track before they paved it. I'm not real sure.
Your brother Junior told me that it was a dirt track. He remembered going out there when it was a dirt track still before they paved it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, but then they paved it, and then I got to start going into the pits. I got old enough to go in the pits, and I was helping Pop, Billy Joe Rosiska.
But how old did you have to be to get in the pits back then?
16, I think.
16. So you were a young man now.
Yeah,
15, 16, somewhere in that.
I think I lied a little bit.
That's all right. It happens.
But anyway, so that's how I got indoctrinated at CC Speedway.
So in the early 60s, you hooked up with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Davis.
Yeah, Roy Davis and Johnny Fox.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little about what you learned from them and some of your antics, maybe.
I learned that being an outlaw wasn't no good. So I got introduced to Johnny by a friend of mine that lived across the street because he helped Johnny on his, I think he was a gasser. And so I started.
Dragster type car?
Oh, yeah, it was a 32 Ford. And they chopped the top on it, had a Chrysler engine in it. And I don't remember if it had a quick change in it or not. I think it did. But anyway, so I started going over there and helping them get ready for down in Green Valley, direct strip, and for the 63 Summer Nationals there. And I just didn't get to go because they only had room for so many.
Where's Green Valley at?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, okay.
And so then they come back from there, and Johnny's brother-in-law, Joe Harris, he wanted to go to fuel, and Johnny wanted to stay on gasoline. So Roy Davis sold his car up in Denver, Colorado, but kept the engine. So I noticed Roy was hanging around over there, and they struck up a partnership. So the winter of 63 and all into, that's when I started helping Roy and Johnny. So we took this, it was a 392 Chevrolet engine out, sit it on the driveway, and then we went over to Roy's house and got this. I didn't know how he was going to stuff it in the car, but it was a
There's a will, there's a way.
392 Chrysler. It's the biggest damn motor I ever seen. But anyway,
It's probably in Dustin's E-Mod now.
I wished. So throughout the winter, I helped him on the car. And we started going to the races with him. I started going to the races with him. They both called me Kid. Now, there's another nickname that hung on me.
It was fair enough. You were young, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a young one.
They said he was the only 16-year-old that would show up to the race car shop with a six-pack of beer.
Yeah.
I thought you said rated outlaw didn't work.
No, but
But he did them simultaneously, all right?
we didn't drink beer when we was working on the car. That was absolutely no. If you put a bolt in the car, you tighten it up. You didn't leave it loose. Roy taught me that. And then I helped him build his, I had an inch stroker kit in that 392. So, man, I'm helping. I was pumped. So Roy says, Kid, when I tell you to turn it. Well, I thought he meant turn it the second time, but I didn't realize that his hand was.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, and I turned it. Well, he got about as red as you could get, and I thought that was my racing career.
I thought it was over.
Oh, yeah.
Short lived, had a good time, but I got to go.
Buffet over on that one. So, but we built the motor, and I kept the toolbox in shape, and that was my main job, was when we went to the races. I knew the toolbox backwards and forwards.
Well,
They told me to arrange it like I wanted it, and I did. So if they asked for a ratchet or screwdriver or anything, I knew where it was at.
well, no, that's good to have. as much as you may have thought it was just a small job.
Well, I didn't care.
It was,
I was going to the races.
right. But look what you learned from it. You understood. You learned things from it. You learned what the tools were. You learned organization. And at some point, you probably learned kind of the cadence. You knew what they were going to need probably before that sport.
Yeah, like when Roy wanted to adjust the valves, I would go get the wrenches and bump the tire, and he put the up and down on the piston. I mean, that was our adjusting the valve
system.
Yeah.
So is that where you started learning how to build motors? Was helping Johnny and Roy?
Yeah, the first motor I helped build was Uncle Earl's. I would think I was about 9.
The one y'all picked up from the garage rafters?
Yeah.
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 Your dad was
Dad,
pleased.
we didn't need to put that in there. No, Daddy had re-sided the house in some kind of high dollar. To us, it was high dollar, like a siding that was compressed down to about 5/8. And Daddy was gone, and Earl and I and Junior, Stephen's daddy, and John's daddy was out there, and my oldest brother, Gerald. And he took the garage door off and then drilled a hole in that brand new siding. So we slugged an old flathead out of there, and Mom and Daddy come in from grocery shopping, and Daddy's mouth was about that big. And we didn't go out in the garage for a while.
You had to do what you had to do.
I had to do what you, and that hole stayed in there. Well, it's been covered up, but it's still in the framework of that house.
These are still there for sure.
So
No, sometimes you have to do what you have to do in those situations.
They made it happen. They made it happen.
we made it happen.
Sometimes it's easier to ask forgiveness than ask permission.
And that same motor then, Earl, which is first oldest than me, or after, whatever, he's 6 years older than I am. He said, Pee-wee, you think you and Gerald could pull the heads off of that flathead? And we bulletproof. We do anything you want. So I had red rags in both pockets, and me and my oldest brother pulled the heads off. So I said, I wonder if they want the distributor out. And Gerald said, I don't think we ought to do that. I said, yeah, we're going to do it. So no setting the timing, didn't put the top cylinder up or anything like that.
Just pulled the distributor out.
Punched it out. Well, after they got it put back together, they run around the block pulling it with the chain, trying to get it stabbed right. Nobody knew what was going on. I think there was one of my brother's friends, Jackie Seller. He raced at CC Speedway also. I think he knew more.
He figured it out.
He figured it out.
He was the go-to. He was the flathead go-to.
Oh, them boys. Him, Mike Flanagan, they was all running buddies.
Yeah. No, Mike Flanagan's name has come up in a few of our podcasts, and he seems to be the kind of guy that helped anybody that needed help, whether it was good, bad, or otherwise. But he was also known to kind of give you a little schooling on the track as well.
Oh yeah, he didn't. The bump and run was by him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked for Mike for about a year.
It's your
At the
first
muffler
job,
shop?
right?
At the muffler shop, ball and muffler shop.
No way.
Yeah, and
Did you know where all the tools were at?
oh yeah,
You were in charge of that.
Pat Flanagan told me to stay away from the tools. I couldn't bend pipe for hell.
I think some of the tools made it home with them. They're still in our shop.
No. I didn't steal from Mike, only the government.
Let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your racing now. So you obviously traveled around, did a little.
Well, I was going to tell you about Roy. Well, this is what I didn't forget, but in the summer of 64 and in the winter of 63, 64, I didn't date. It was 24, 7 days a week on that race car.
When your feet hit the floor, it was race car.
It was race car. And they took me under their wing, kept me out of trouble. Roy hated cigarettes, so when we cleaned up the shop, he made to grab my cigarettes and crumble them up, throw them away, because he hated cigarettes.
Yeah. He was helping you.
Yeah, he was helping. Me and Johnny both smoked. So,
I only smoke on Saturday nights, so
yeah.
Can't imagine why.
But The first race I went to with Roy, we was going to Houston. It must have been a double point race. And the windshield wipers going all the way up to Dickerson, I think it was. And we were going about 90. Roy didn't drive any place a weight or slow. So he would nod off every once in a while, and I'd bump him. But he dropped off on the shoulder, was going a long sweeping turn, and he used up the shoulder. Now, bear in mind, we had a trailer back there doing like this.
A trailer or a dolly?
The trailer.
Okay.
No, trailer. We had a homemade trailer that had coil springs in it, or on it, and used up the shoulder, our lane, the next lane, and the next shoulder. And he come out of there and wobbled us around, and he said, damn, they didn't put enough bank in that turn. It was, I mean, I don't know whose mouth was open to more, Johnny's or mine.
You survived it, though.
Yeah.
You're here to tell the story.
Yep. So, yep. And then
Your grandson and I once traveled together, and he went the wrong way in a one-way, but just one of those deals.
So was my brother-in-law.
You told me to run the red light.
I don't recall any of that, Your Honor. I don't recall anything about that part.
No, it's because you fell asleep and made me drive.
That's cool. Roy fell asleep a lot of times.
Technically, I asked him if he wanted to drive an Alvin, and he said, hell yeah, and he thought he was going to get to drive the car, and I meant the truck.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I got to drive an Alvin one way or another, right?
I think the first time that I got to ride the tow car, it was an art. Johnny and Roy, both of them. Now, when you get ready to pass somebody, you're going to have to get them right on their tail.
draft him.
Yeah. And we was towing with a 64 Chevrolet Impala then. And then you back out of the throttle, move to the lane, almost mat it, go around them, back out of the throttle, go back, and then adjust it and go on about your way. Well, I'm coming home when it was on 35 again, and Roy was sacked out on the driver's side, and I got the trailer back and forth. Tail light. Roy's head was going up against the door. So he woke up, and he slid over there next to me and told me to bury it.
Pull out of it.
Pull out of it. He was driving and said, get out of the throttle. I backed off, and we moved around, and he said, now keep this damn thing between the ditches. So he went back to sleep. I white-knuckled it all the way back to Corpus, 35 miles an hour.
You made it home.
Made it home. So, yeah, we went to, that summer, we raced in 3 places in Louisiana, Houston, Victoria. In August, we went to the Nationals. And
The Nationals was in Indianapolis.
I never seen so many race cars in my life.
It was probably a big adventure for you.
God,
It's an eye-opener.
Oh, yeah. Another story. Going there, and they said, well, hey, kid, how much money you got? And I said, I got about $20. And he said, damn, it's going to cost you $25 to get in the pits. I said, I ain't never been worried about money or food before. He said, well, Johnny said, well, a little shit will work. So that's how I slept in the back of the station wagon, and they stayed in the motel room. They ferried me back and forth to take a shower. So,
but those are memories that you'll never forget. And those were good times for you.
Yeah, oh, yes.
You didn't realize what you were missing because you didn't know.
I didn't know, but Phoenix City, Alabama.
Yeah. Their team was a pretty big deal. He said they were sponsored by Mickey Thompson and everything. Apparently it was pretty well known.
Roy would sit on the kitchen floor and talk to Mickey Thompson just like we're sitting here talking.
Yeah.
We had boxes and boxes of pistons that they sent us that we even put in the motor. And when they went to Colorado, they took a set of them pistons out and they got their little calculators out, and we had about a 6-inch lathe in the room, in the lathe room we call it, and they shaved the top of them pistons off to get the right compression that they wanted.
Just knew what they wanted and did their own fly cutting there.
So did everything there. And Phoenix City, Alabama was where Roy, had to come home that night to be home by Monday or Tuesday.
Got to go to work?
You had to go to work. So we decided we were going to take a shower. So we all got naked down at the end of the track. And we're all lathered up, water hose, and we getting after it. So then the car come over there to pick up the clocks. Roy got in the car, and Johnny, and locked me outside.
Naked.
I'm talking naked. So I'm hiding between the steering wheels and the back of the dragster and stuff, and they thought it was hilarious. So
It is pretty funny.
it is, yeah. It wasn't a laughing matter.
It was.
It wasn't a laughing matter to me. But yeah, that's them. But I helped Roy. 63, 64, 65, we went to fuel. And 66, then I went in the Army. And that's all I'd done from that time was work on that dragster.
So you went to the service.
Yeah,
How long were you in the service?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Decided you had enough of that deal?
Yeah.
Enough standing in line, as they say. You stood in line long enough?
Oh, God. Roy and I at Houston got there late. Roy made a time trial. Got out, still in his fire suit, went to the driver's meeting. Johnny come over and said, hey, we need to go work on the car. You don't want to sneak on out here. Had 2 head gaskets there. And we didn't have no impacts or nothing like that. So Virgil Snumbo went with us. That was the guy that got me started going over there. And
Okay.
Johnny and Roy was taking the motor apart. We was wiping everything down, covering up, and fender covers.
Yeah.
And pulled the head gaskets out, put the new head gaskets in there, doing just the valves. And
Nobody pulled the distributor out this time.
No. We didn't have to pull the distributor. It was way in the back. But we won that race. So that was the first double point meet race. The next weekend was Victoria. We went there. We won that. And then they went to Oklahoma. Got that. They took vacation to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay. And after that, it was no more taking vacations. So, like I said, we raced Phoenix City, Alabama, Amarillo.
You traveled as much as you could. It just became to a point where you just couldn't do it anymore, I suppose.
No, we traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 or 60,000 miles at least, because we wore out that Impala station wagon. I don't know how many sets of tires they Chevrolet dealership put on us, because the Coral Springs had a tendency to flare them tires out. Because if we didn't tell them I had a dragster.
You got all the good. I got all the good out of it.
Yeah, all the way.
So tell us a little bit about. So you went into service.
Went into service. Had already met my wife, and we decided to get married. But so we got married. I got out of basic training in October, and come home, and got married. I went to Fort Sill. She stayed here. And then I come down and got her in January, and we moved out on our own first time. So,
American dream.
Yeah, and then I went to Germany. Thought first they was going to send me to Vietnam, because that's where the levee was, that they call it a levee. And got all the training to go. We was in a big theater, and the sergeant, E5, E6, say, hey, you didn't call my name out. And I was sergeant up on stage, started raising hell. So he didn't call my name out either. So he said, everybody that I didn't call your name, raise your hand. There was about 35 of us in there. So he told us, y'all get out. You're not going to Vietnam. You're either going to Korea or Germany. So I lucked out. I went to Germany.
Yeah.
And I left Helen here we thought she was pregnant. And I got a letter about 3 weeks later. And some kind of, I guess, I don't know what it was, but she was definitely pregnant. And then our son, Dwayne, was born in February, and I'm still in Germany.
Yeah.
So,
Well, things happen for a reason. So there's a reason you didn't get shipped to Vietnam, and there's a reason that all that
I
stuff
tried to drink German dry. So
didn't work.
no,
You tried real hard, though.
I tried real hard. I got my share in.
So tell us a little bit about that. Now you have a son.
Now I have a son, and drag racing. I went over to help Bob Silk. Had a funny car. First week out, and carried Dwayne with us, and stayed over about 4 hours working on the car. Got ready to go home, and the wife let me know real quick that I wasn't going to be running up and down the highway chasing that race car.
She laid the law down.
Yeah, it happened, and I listened that time.
Yeah.
So and I didn't race again until 72. That's when I met Jimmy Rye.
That was when you started going back to the Speedway.
Yeah, we went back to the Speedway, and then it shut down, and then we went out to Cudahy. And, man, them cars were bullet fast.
So you went out to Cudahy.
Yeah,
Was going
the high banks, they call it.
That got you hooked again.
Circle track. Yeah, that circle track. I loved it.
That was a dirt track?
It was a dirt track, 3/8 mile dirt track. And
Tell us a little bit about the facility. I mean, what I never got to see the facility.
well, the facility was the bleacher was on the north side of it. Pits was on the south side. So all the dirt that got picked up off the track flew into the stands.
Yes, sir.
And it was miserable for the stands. And Rick Rapp told me that track would break a 454 big block crankshaft in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah, they was running on the big tires, and they get a lot of bite, and it just snapped that crank. That track had a lot of bite.
You stand on the gas and the crankshaft just let go.
Yeah, well, and he's, and Rap was, my Ricky Sonard nicknamed him the Legend.
Yeah.
And
I think that's pretty much how most of the folks on the Coastal Men know Mr. Rapp is as the legend. The legend, that's Rick Rapp.
And he come over to help us set up the car one time on the dirt track. And he walked around whistling. We had it on scales. Move it here, move it here, move it here, move it here. And, okay, that's good. So when I was building the dirt car, we cut the upper air arm tires off, and Ricky and Bruce would come over, and I gave them my bump stops and everything like that, and they would take it to Rap, and then they'd come back. He said, "Cut it off.
Do it again."
I don't know. We went on for at least 2 weeks. Cut it off. Then they come back, said, "Weld it in." And that car ain't never. Larry Smith said that car you could almost let go of the steering wheel, it would go left. I mean, Rapper knew his stuff.
Yep.
So
Till this day, Bruce and Ricky come by our shop or the pit, and they say, "Cut it off, cut it off."
Oh yeah,
cut it off.
Or
they didn't let him live that one down.
that one year I was racing off of credit cards, and Helen, the wife, would come over and do the mom shopping. Ricky called it, and she'd go buy our groceries and drinks and stuff like that. And 1197 was the card number, the last four numbers of the card. And she would walk out, and Bruce said, "Remember 1197?"
That's awesome. Just those little stories like that.
Oh, God, yes.
That come along with the racing family. All those guys able to get up and have those friendships with you. So talk to us a little bit about the transition when you went out to the dirt track. All of a sudden you were hooked, and you wanted to do that. That's how you met some of these other guys.
I we always had a loose car. I didn't know how to set one up. And Kevin Harms was pretty good then, really good, and Richard. So they would come over, and John Henry, Witzsche, and Stephen, they was helping me. And I always drove a loose car and spin out in a heartbeat. So when I got on dirt, man, I'm in hog heaven. This thing's hey,
high, wide, and handsome.
Oh yeah, drop the air in that right rear and let her dig.
I think y'all switched to dirt because they got barred from the asphalt track.
We didn't really get bored. I got Mr. Yoakum. They had a
with somebody.
They had a big race that night. I think he was paying $500 to win or something. Dwayne got spun. And Dwayne got spun. He got back on the track, and just as he was getting on the track, they put 5 or 6 cars in the apex in turn 3 and 4. And so they got them all separated. The rules was you involved in a wreck, you went in the back.
All involved.
All involved. Your fault, their fault, my fault. And Dwayne wasn't involved in it because he was already spun out. Well, they put him in the back too. And I had a little fire under me. So I was arguing with oh God, I don't forget his name now. But Jacob got bearded up pretty good. Donnie did. And he started beating his chest, and he said, well, if you don't like the way I run this track, you can just go to dirt. I said, I'm gone. So we bought a set of hard tires from Larry Smith and probably 300-pound wheels, and we went to dirt.
Larry might still have those wheels, I'm just saying.
No, because we used them all up.
So I've seen some of Larry's collection. There's a lot there.
Okay. But
so you made the transition to the dirt, and you adapted with a loose car driving style.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
And Ricky and Bruce, they would, we got shocks from them. Of course, as they're all throwaways.
Yeah.
They had like a ball joint.
They're Heim on it.
Yeah. So I welded all them in, and had to run them upside down one place. And
all the tricks.
So they just let me have it all. And so we would go by and go to the races together. So when they got their IMCA modified, to get back on your story about Junior.
Oh, yeah.
They call Ricky Junior.
Ricky Senard?
Yeah. Well, we're stabbing the transmission, and I stepped over. No, Ricky stepped over. I was underneath the car. Ricky stepped over to get, and he had his shorts on like I have. And I said, hey, Ricky. I said, now I know why they call you Junior. Bruce lost it. He says, let go of the transmission. Let go of the transmission. Shut up. Yeah, he said, Ricky wasn't happy about that call. So, but anyway, and then another story about Ricky was down in the valley. We went down there after we got the IMCA going, and boy, Ricky was popping his hands. All right, this is where it's at. This van right there, standing right up against the fence. A car come right up next to the wall, picked up the dirt clod about that big, and it hung it on his private parts. And he went, oh! I said, Ricky, get your tongue off the piece. Shut up right there. No, but that was
good times.
Oh, yeah. And then on the way home, we plug in the Eagles tapes, and Cody was going to the races then with us. That boy back then, he had a memory that they would be talking, and Bruce would ask, Cody, what was the number of that car it was a blue and white car that we raced up in? Oh, that was so-and-so. But that kid had a memory, still does. But he fell asleep on me one time. And so I just let him ride there, And he told me years later, he said, Uncle Larry, You know, when I fell asleep on your shoulder, I wasn't sleeping. I was just comfortable.
I was just listening to the stories.
Yeah.
At that point.
Oh God. I remember getting up here to the where
The checkpoint.
checkpoint,
Yeah.
and then after that, we plug in that and go all the way over.
Cassette and just listen, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I made sure to give Ricky the link to the podcast so he can watch all the shit you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, them two guys they was a step in the right direction.
Looks like in '97 you were second in the points championship at
Yeah, and my motor started rattling up on the top,
yeah.
and Bruce had wrecked their modifieds. He went head on into the wall, and I don't know how it happened, but it hurt the car bad. So I told Bruce, use our car, your motor, and we'll form a little
bond.
and we'll let the car, and the car did. It paid for itself. They call it the sled. You know,
They call it the sled because you put too many pipes in, is what I heard.
well, it was just a heavy car. I was protecting your
It
daddy.
was made out of Schedule 42-inch, I
I
think.
believe it was. I might have been drill fight. I don't know.
There was a lot of drill pipe back then.
Yeah.
My dad used to say gear it so you can hear it because they were made out of drill stem and they were so heavy.
Yeah.
It just, but they would bounce off of everything.
Yeah. You were going to hurt the car.
No,
Yeah, I bounced it off that CC Speedway wall.
that old boulder plate doesn't move.
No. Oh God, I had Monty Nichols II. I asked him, how to go in. He said, well, Larry, dirt track it. Okay. How you do that? He said, go in there, slam the brakes on, turn it to the left, floorboard. And then, I said, excuse me. I said, man, I learned something. Little Mike Carlucci was the champions that year, and he was watching me practice. He said, damn, Larry's going in that turn hard. Damn, Larry hit that wall hard. So,
It happens.
yeah. So,
That CC Speedway, once you kind of get in there, those walls, you're like gladiators in there.
oh, yeah.
So it's kind
I
of,
had one car that I had to move out of the way one time, and he was right in the group. So I moved him. Well, when I come around, there was a white flag lap. It was close to the end of the race. Boom, I got moved, and it was the same car. So he come back around, and I was waiting on him. And I put my fender on his door, driver's door, and got him up on that little sharp wall at CC Speedway, and I burped him all the way down the front straightaway, and then got him up on the big wall, and I smelled rubber burning, so I turned him loose. And I said, well, the fight's going to be on now. Well, they stopped me from fighting. I said, okay. So they held me in the pits. In the infield, and sent him on. Well, first thing I did was, your daddy was helping me pit the car. And first thing when I got back there, I said, let's go. So we went over to talk to this guy that
you had helped.
helped.
You're just giving them a lesson also.
Yeah, well, he always said, well, you always got to be right. I said, well, in this case, I am right. He was right in the groove. You already been lapped. So, I moved.
So he was lap traffic.
Yeah. He's a hazard.
Not you, right? Well, you were.
I was,
You were never a hazard.
no, I'm never a
So you
hazard.
might have been hazardous, but just never a hazard.
So,
There's a fine line right there.
yeah, here it is.
So it looks like 2010, you decided to hang up your helmet. You decided racing wasn't necessarily for you in that deal anymore. What was going on?
I think that was around the time him and my dad quit altogether. They got out of it. So
Well,
roughly, I think.
I did a 4-link setup on the car. We bought a bunch of parts from Rick Rapp's stepson, And he was schooling us on how to put this stuff in there. And welling them in. Bruce and Ricky come over and told me about the up and down with the bars and stuff. Well, nobody told me that the bar that comes down where you hook your panel bar to, that has to be welded in solid. And we're sitting in there, Dwayne already hit the wall.
Yeah, I remember that.
We fixed all the casting camera and stuff, straightened out and then we're sitting, getting ready to race, and we're sitting in the car waiting for the weather to clear, and I'm looking at that car, and I don't know why it didn't dawn on me what happened, but the rear end was shifted over. So there again, I told Dwayne, I said, "Hey, there's something wrong." "Oh, Dad, you're just that way." Okay, so Willie made about 3 laps, and
Something was wrong.
yeah, it was. It moved over enough that even after what Larry Smith and I both did. Well, I got it from Larry. We would take a tow strap and tie it to the rear end and keep it sucked over.
Yeah.
To keep it from going out to the left side. I didn't even do that. So, but anyway, that was the year that we quit.
Yeah. I remember that.
So,
How old are you roughly when that took place?
12 or so.
yeah,
About 12.
I got a picture of you and your daddy and I in the tech line.
Yeah. That was when I was younger. So that would have been what you're talking about. That would have been when Goliad shut down, and then they moved, because they raced in Goliad for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And when it shut down, they moved over here to South Texas. And that was when they came back.
Yeah, we're racing in San Antonio one night and Goliad the next night. Dwayne would train. If I was working all the overtime I could work at the base, so he would change out the rear end and put the 600 gears in it for the dirt track in Goliad. And that's when he started going with this jet.
Yeah. That would have been like 99 or so, 2000.
Well, let's talk about that. So obviously the Witzsche name in the coastal band and the racing community is a very popular name. Obviously, it's
Well,
Steve,
my
you have
brother
John.
is more popular than anybody.
You know. So tell us a little bit about the family aspect with you guys, because like I said, with John, with Steven, with Dwayne, and more Witzches that I don't know.
Yeah.
There was probably a whole herd of y'all. So
It was a herd
tell
of
us
us at
a little bit about how that was. It's about having the family there. I'm sure there was good nights, but I'm sure there was bad nights too.
Oh, yeah.
Roy and I would have BB gun fights.
Like regular BB guns,
Regular
like little Red Ryder BB guns.
Yeah, big time Red Ryder BB guns. And we kept them loaded, cocked, ready to go up on the workbench. And we was talking to one of Virgil Sumbo's friends about the BB gun fights. So he went over there with us. He walked up to the workbench, grabbed that BB gun, and he shot Roy in the stomach.
Like point blank.
Point blank. I mean, you didn't even have to aim. Kind of like when your daddy shot your mom, his mama in the butt.
Yeah.
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 And then,
See that much show notes.
And
yeah. Ooh,
We'll come back to that.
yeah. So
Highlight reel.
Roy snatched that gun away from him and said, "Kid, I'll give you to 10 to get down to the end of the driveway." He said 110, and he started shooting, and he didn't ever come back.
Game over.
fix that problem.
Talk about Fred Brown.
Fred Brown. He was real good friends with Doug Rollins.
He was friends with Wally
Sanders.
too.
Oh, yeah.
His dad.
Wally and Jesse had a partner. Then Wally worked at the Firestone downtown.
I understand it was
Just-
full service type.
Yeah, so Jesse was a salesman. So Fred knew him through buying tires from the truck. So them two was inseparable. You know, they always buddied up together, him and Doug. Doug come over one time and said, "Somebody sabotaged his motor." Fred said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, he found red rag in it."
Mm.
And he said, "Okay." He said, "Did you change bearings?" Yeah. And he said, okay, then you wrap a red rag around the oil pump? Yeah.
Did you take a red rag off the oil pump?
And before he could say, dang, and that's where that red rag comes from. Yeah. But Dub had Shorty Rollins, who was going professional.
Yes.
And Mike Flanagan and Billy Joe, I think it was his pit crew. And Johnny Rollins. So, they was over our house for barbecues and stuff like this here.
They were just regular. They were just regular
Family folks.
Yep. No, that's what I find. Like with a lot of the older families, they were just normal folks, just normal people over having a good time. They were just normal guys, but to other folks, they were legends.
When this young man was hanging on the fence, we're going to Goliad. I told his daddy, I said, when we get to the river bridge, and that boy's still crying, either we're going to take him to the races, or you just drop me off, you go to races by yourself. I'm not leaving that boy hanging on that fence, because he helped us load the truck and everything.
Yep, he was a part of it.
Yes. So his mother was afraid that we was going to get busy and not pay attention to it.
Well, that's just racing.
Yeah, I said, well, no, I said, that ain't never going to happen. So that's how he started going to the races. Well, he loaded the tires on, and he knew that the first 4 that come off the trailer was racing tires. Well, we pulled in their Goliath, when he's on a little hill.
How old is he at this point?
3.5.
Perfect.
Papa, here's your tires. Here's your tires. So he rolled them, and then they all over. Sticker burrs, everything. And then we was riding. I gave him a ride on that night that we had an altercation. And
You said that very loosely, like it happened a lot or something.
no, it didn't happen once a night. But we was riding here on my deal, and I wasn't going fast. We made 2 laps, and I burped the car coming out of the turn just to let him. And he said, Papa, there goes our whole tire. Tire, spacer, and all. So I drug him into the pits. And his daddy wasn't too happy about that, but so be it.
No, the right front just took off rolling.
Yeah. It's amazing how much faster they go when they come off.
Oh, yeah.
So.
No, those are good times. That's a memory that you'll have forever.
No, I remember that. As young as I was, I still remember that. I remember going to Goliad, and Cody Beto actually would babysit me, like while he was up there watching Dad and everything, watching him run.
Mike Flanagan took care of you one time when Dad wrecked out or something.
Yeah.
I asked Mike hey, Mike, can you hang on to my grandson? Oh, yeah, I got him. Cool. So.
Did Mike have his bib overalls on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It hasn't changed, yeah.
No, he didn't change. Mike worked in them big overalls.
I think that was for weddings, parties.
Everything.
Yeah,
Everything. Everything.
Yeah, that's all you get out of it.
Let's talk about 1997, the championship chase. That meant a lot to you guys. So let's hear a little bit about that scenario. What happened there?
That was.
Don't hold back.
I'm not.
There's a picture of you going over Matt Gardner's car with your front end off the ground.
No. Matt was behind me.
Oh, okay.
Matt was behind me. There was a car that come off the wall.
Which track is this at?
South Texas.
South Texas Speedway.
And he ran it right in front of me. I never did live.
So this is a feature race. Y'all running around like it's all on the line. It's all everything. You got
double point night and stuff like
big
this.
money, double points, or just double points, little money?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know about the money. That's another story. But anyway, I went up and over and down, and Matt put his up like this here. When he hit the back of the car, his car come up in the back. And we rattled around there, and all the tires were up, so we kept on racing.
Good to go.
And one night at the dirt track, I don't know, I was mad about something.
It's not surprising.
And we're loading up. I only won $80 that night. And we took off. I took the car home. Then I realized I left my money envelope on top of the car.
Oh.
Yeah. So bad.
You still got that credit card now, or is that
No,
credit
no, no,
card?
no. This was all. So
He was all upset. My grandma went and found the money, like walking him down the side of the highway.
yeah, after church Sunday, she said, "Let's go find that." I said, "Helen, we ain't never gonna find that money."
She found it.
All four of them, $80. She found all right there on
She's taking care of you.
660. Oh yeah, she did that a lot. But yeah,
I guess you could say she cleaned up after you at that point.
Oh, yeah.
or she still does. The wind had rode it off on that side. Found two of the 20s on that side and the other two 20s on this side.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you found it, but it's
Oh, yeah.
a very,
I was
very
happy
interesting story.
I was a happy camper, and I liked the time, and I lost a race car checkbook was $300 some odd dollars in it.
Is that a habit for you?
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Nope.
Still gone up.
Yeah.
Tell Helen she needs to step up her game.
Yeah. And then I left one in the HCB basket. Race car money. That was $187 hit.
So that's where all of our race
We
car.
might not want to hand you.
No, I'm not
money.
letting money in there.
Give me the money on you now.
Yeah, I'll do it right there. So
When you get home,
Yeah.
make sure you still have it. Dustin, obviously you watched your grandpa race. You were a young man when he was doing it.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the stuff that you felt are important stories, that things need to be out there. Just tell us some of the little scenarios that you remember being a young man and watching him, whether it was at the dirt track or just at the shop or in the garage or whatever. Are there certain memories that you remember that maybe we haven't touched on?
I do remember Rick Rapp coming over to the shop, like he said. I remember seeing my dad winning a few races, at South Texas Speedway. They were always front running cars. We didn't have the best equipment out there, but we were
You made do with what you had.
Yes.
And like I said before in an earlier conversation, you just didn't know. You didn't necessarily know what anybody else had to an extent, so why did it matter? You made the best of what you had.
That's right. We were there no matter what, and we were always, we were a top 5 car. My dad, he won quite a few races when I was a kid, and I got to see that, growing up, and it made me want to get, where I was interested in the sport. And so when I came old enough to get my own car, that's what we did. And then he came around and started helping me and stuff, and
Well, you guys have a very tight bond. I mean, I've known y'all for a little while. They have a very tight bond.
well, yeah,
Do you roll his tires out to him now?
kind of.
Kinda.
Yeah. But I'm telling about Raps with you one time when we was working on the car. We had this spring jerry rigged.
they were trying to compress a spring or
It
something.
was back leaf springs.
Oh, is that what it was?
And we're trying to figure out.
See, now we're learning all the tricks.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
So
You're letting
Tell us more.
Ricky had a block of wood between the shackles and the frame of the car. And he was on his three-wheeler, and Dustin, Wesley was, I don't know what he was on that push scooter he had, that two-wheel.
Yeah. We're making laps around the driveway. Yeah.
What did Ricky tell you?
Oh, he said, y'all boys get back. He said, that spring will kill you deader than dead, all right? And just back off. Yeah, yes, sir. Okay.
That's all you needed to hear.
Yeah, he was dirt tracking it at 5 years old. He wore the wheels off that three-wheeler,
Yeah.
that plastic
Little
wheels.
power wheel deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the wheels didn't last long.
the wheels.
No, big wheels. They call them big wheels.
Big wheels, yeah. And he was sliding around the driveway.
That's where I learned how to dirt track.
Yeah,
I learned how to dirt track when he threw the tire off the car, too.
Well,
yeah.
So,
it is what it is.
Well, you felt you learned a lesson what it felt like to come in on a flat.
oh, yeah. No,
He was teaching you
that
at
he
a young
was.
age.
No, as goofy as it sounds, I mean, that's where, riding on his lap in the car, like, hey, this is how you follow a groove, this is where you enter the corner. This is where you hit the brakes.
Did you
I
get
was
up and flip
3.
the switch when the tire fell off? Like you had this plan?
Oh, no. That was all him. That was 100% on
Yeah.
him.
That's awesome.
One of the stories that Rap told us, they went to a big race someplace, and he had a motor that was using a lot of oil. So he got an electric pump, 5 gallons of oil in the back,
Pumped it in.
and he knew how many laps, and he flipped the switch for so long, fill up the oil fan where it needed to be, and turn it off.
That's
Now,
awesome.
who the hell would think about to do that?
Rick
Somebody
Rapp.
thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And Rick Rapp was known to think outside the box.
He was a great Yep. Well, when we was together with Rick out, not working on the car, just like hunting or something like that, we didn't talk about racing. We didn't know. Hey, we didn't take him with us to pick his brain. We
were just friends.
we just friends.
Yeah, no. Rick and my dad were really good fishing buddies, going down the island and stuff together. I remember Rick picking him up in his little Toyota, and they take off. And you had talked about like racing stories from what I remember, and so when they quit, like 2010 or so, after I got old enough to drive and everything, I started helping John out there at the track, and Steven had just passed recently at that point. And so, I fell in with John and his friends and stuff, and John won a lot of races at the Speedway, I remember, he had told me he set the track record over there for the street stocks and held it until they tore it down, basically.
Well, he probably had him tear it down so nobody could break his record.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
He won
I'm sure that's
5.
exactly what it was.
Them two boys won 5 championships in a row.
I think consecutively, yeah. I think 6 championships, 5 were consecutive. Yeah.
And Steven, God love him, he would come over and he was big.
Yes, sir.
And he would put his knee on the car and he watched that fender go up, the front fender. He said, we're going to do good tonight, he said. So I didn't know later on that John had sent him to chassis school somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where. That's just something that John had talked to me about, that he had sent Steven to a shock and chassis school up north somewhere. And Steven was the brains of the operation. If you know John, you'll understand. But John could drive, though. I'll give you that. John could drive.
Yeah.
No witchies were harmed in this podcast.
That'd be all right.
Yep. It's been a good ride.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
A lot of memories, that's for sure. A lot more we probably haven't even talked about. But
I'm sure there's a ton of them out there, but that's why I said the reason I have this show, the reason I have this podcast is for guys like you that have all of these stories to be able to pass them on. Sure, Dustin knows a little bit of these, but when he has kids and maybe when Brianna has kids and all that stuff's able to be passed on. As long as YouTube is still there, these videos should still be there. But I really enjoyed talking to you, Mr. Larry. I enjoyed the conversation with your grandson and the banter back and forth about the good times and the bad times. Like, that's what really makes this show what it is. So I do appreciate you guys coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No, thank you.
Merry Christmas from the Thunder Road Podcast.